scary story. Laura and Ralie had always loved Halloween. Ever since they were little, they would dress up in their favorite costumes, carve pumpkins, and watch scary movies together. They would also go trick or treating around their neighborhood, collecting candy and exchanging stories with their friends. Halloween was their favorite time of the year, a night when they could escape from reality and embrace their inner child. But this year, Halloween was different. Something was wrong in the quaint town of Oakwood Hills, where autumn leaves paint the streets in hues of gold and crimson. Something sinister was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. It all started with the rumors. Rumors of strange occurrences surrounding Mrs. Sasha's house. Mrs. Sasha was an elderly woman who lived alone in a run-down mansion at the edge of town. She rarely left her home, and no one ever saw her visitors. She was known as the town's recluse, a mysterious figure who kept to herself and avoided contact with others. But lately, people had been talking about her, talking about the children who had gone missing after visiting her doorstep, talking about the screams that could be heard from her basement, talking about the smell of blood and rot that emanated from her property, talking about the dark secrets that she hid behind her walls. No one knew for sure if the rumors were true, but they were enough to scare away most of the trick-or-treaters. Most, but not all. Laura and Ralie were among the few who dared to approach Mrs. Sasha's house. They were not afraid of rumors. They were curious. They wanted to see for themselves what was going on. They wanted to prove their courage. They wanted to have some fun. They had planned their adventure for weeks. They had chosen their costumes carefully, opting for something spooky and original. Laura was dressed as a zombie bride, complete with a torn white dress, fake blood, and a veil. Ralie was dressed as a witch, wearing a black cloak, a pointed hat, and a broomstick. They had also prepared their candy bags, making sure they had enough room for all the treats they would collect. They had mapped out their route, deciding which houses to visit and which ones to avoid. They had agreed on a meeting point and a curfew in case they got separated or lost. They had everything under control. They set out on their adventure as soon as the sun set, joining the other trick-or-treaters on the streets. They greeted their friends and neighbors, admiring their costumes and exchanging compliments. They knocked on doors and rang bells, receiving candy and smiles from the residents. They laughed and joked, enjoying the festive atmosphere and the thrill of the night. But as they traversed the dimly lit streets, a chill wind carried with it an unsettling scent, reminiscent of rusted metal and decay. Laura's nerves prickle with unease, but she pushes aside her apprehensions, eager to indulge in the festivities. They soon reached the end of their route, where Mrs. Sasha's house stood. The dilapidated facade loomed ominously, its windows shrouded in darkness. The front yard was overgrown with weeds and vines, creating a tangled web of thorns and branches. The gate was rusty and creaky, hanging loosely from its hinges. A sign read "Beware of dog," but no dog was in sight. Laura and Ralie exchanged a look of apprehension and excitement. They had heard the rumors, but they didn't believe them. They thought they were just stories, meant to scare and entertain. They thought they were brave, and they wanted to show it. They thought they were safe, and they wanted to have fun. They decided to go for it. They pushed open the gate, ignoring the squeak that echoed in the silence. They walked up the cracked and uneven path, avoiding the holes and the puddles. They reached the porch, where a single lantern cast a faint and flickering light. They saw a bowl of candy on a small table, next to a note that read, "Take one and leave." They also saw a doorbell, next to a sign that read, "Ring for a treat." Laura's curiosity got the better of her. She wanted to see who lived in this house. She wanted to see what they looked like. She wanted to see what they had to offer. She reached for the doorbell, her hand trembling slightly. Ralie hesitated, feeling a surge of fear. She wanted to leave. She wanted to go back to the safety of the streets. She wanted to go home. She grabbed Laura's arm, trying to stop her. "Wait, Laura, don't. Let's just take some candy and go. This place gives me the creeps. I don't like it here. Please, let's go." Laura shook off Ralie's grip, feeling a rush of adrenaline. She smiled, trying to reassure her friend. "Don't be such a chicken, Ralie. It's just a house. It's just a doorbell. It's just a game. Come on, it'll be fun. Trust me." She pressed the doorbell, her heart pounding in anticipation. She heard a chime, followed by a click. The door opened, revealing a woman standing in the doorway. A woman who looked nothing like what they expected. Mrs. Sasha was not old. She was not frail. She was not ugly. She was young. She was fit. She was beautiful. She had long blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a flawless complexion. She wore a red dress, a pearl necklace, and a pair of high heels. She looked like a movie star, a model, a goddess. She smiled, showing a set of perfect white teeth. She spoke with a voice that was sweet and melodic. "Hello, my dears. Happy Halloween. You must be here for a treat. Well, you're in luck. I have plenty of treats for you. Come in, come in. Don't be shy. I won't bite. Unless you want me to." She stepped aside, inviting them in. She gestured to the bowl of candy, enticing them with promises of sweetness and delight. "Go ahead, take as much as you want. I have more than enough. I have all kinds of candy. Chocolate, caramel, nougat, gummy, hard, soft. You name it, I have it. And they're all delicious. The best you'll ever taste. Trust me." She winked, adding a hint of mischief to her charm. "But that's not all. I have other treats for you. Special treats. Secret treats. Treats that you won't find anywhere else. Treats that will make you feel good. Really good. Trust me, She moved closer, touching their shoulders, their arms, their faces. She whispered, with a voice that was seductive and persuasive. "Come on, my dears. Don't be afraid. Don't be boring. Don't be rude. It's Halloween. It's a night of magic, a night of mystery, a night of fun. And I'm here to make it fun for you. Trust me." She smiled, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. A smile that hid a darkness that Laura sensed. A darkness that Ralie saw. A darkness that they both ignored. They followed her in, their minds clouded by curiosity and temptation. They entered her house, their eyes blinded by the light and the color. They closed the door behind them, their ears deafened by the sound and the music. They forgot the rumors, the warnings, the danger. They forgot their friends, their families, their lives. They forgot themselves. They trusted her, and that was their mistake. Laura and Ralie had made a terrible mistake. They had trusted Mrs. Sasha, and they had paid the price. They had fallen into her trap, and they had become her prey. They had entered her house, and they had never left. They soon realized that Mrs. Sasha's house was not a house. It was a labyrinth, a maze of twisted corridors and hidden passages filled with traps and dangers. A place where nothing was as it seemed, and where everything was designed to deceive and destroy. A place where Mrs. Sasha ruled, and where no one else survived. They tried to escape, but they found no way out. They tried to fight, but they found no weapons. They tried to scream, but they found no help. They tried to stay together, but they found themselves separated. Mrs. Sasha had played with them like a cat with a mouse. She had toyed with their minds, their emotions, their senses. She had lured them into false hopes, false choices. She had tortured them with pain, fear, guilt, and despair. She had broken them bit by bit until they had nothing left. She had revealed her true nature, her true purpose, her true identity. She was not a woman. She was not human. She was a monster, a creature of darkness, a spawn of evil, a servant of chaos. She was a witch who fed on the souls of children, a witch who used Halloween as her hunting ground, a witch who had been doing this for centuries. She had told them her story, her history. She had been born in the Dark Ages, in a time of war and plague and famine. She had been orphaned, abused, and abandoned. She had been shunned, hated, and feared. She had been hunted, captured, and burned. But she had not died. She had survived by making a pact with the devil. She had sold her soul in exchange for power and immortality. She had become a witch in exchange for eternal damnation. She had fled from her homeland, wandering the world, seeking refuge and revenge. She had found both in Oakwood Hills. She had settled in the town, posing as a harmless old lady. She had built her house, using her magic and her cunning. She had created her labyrinth, using her spells and her traps. She had established her ritual, using her charm and her deception. She had chosen her victims, using her intuition and her preference. She had harvested their souls, using her teeth and her claws. She had explained her ritual, her method, her rules. She had said that she needed one soul per year to sustain her life and her power. She had said that she preferred children because they were innocent and pure. She had said that she only took children who came to her door because they were willing and curious. She had said that she only took children on Halloween night because it was the night of mystery. She had said that she gave them a choice, a chance, a game. She had said that she offered them a treat, a trick, or a trade. She had offered them a treat, a candy that would grant them their deepest desire. She had offered them a trick, a challenge that would test their skills and their luck. She had offered them a trade, a bargain that would spare their lives at a cost. She had given them a time limit, a deadline, a countdown. She had said that they had until midnight to make their decision. She had said that if they chose the treat, they would have to eat the candy and accept the consequences. She had said that if they chose the trick, they would have to face the challenge and overcome the obstacles. She had said that if they chose the trade, they would have to make the bargain and pay the price. She had said that if they failed or refused or ran out of time, they would lose their souls and their lives. She had left them alone to make their choice. She had watched them from the shadows with a wicked grin. Laura and Ralie had faced a dilemma, a crisis, a nightmare. They had not known what to do, what to believe. They had not known if the treat was a blessing or a curse. They had not known if the trick was a challenge or a trap. They had not known if the trade was a bargain or a betrayal. They had not known if they had any hope, any chance, any escape. They had argued, they had cried, they had prayed. They had searched, they had fought, they had run. They had tried everything, but they had found nothing. Nothing but despair and horror and death. They had lost their way, their courage, their friendship. They had lost their minds, their hearts, their souls. They had lost themselves. They had chosen their fate, their destiny, their doom. They had chosen differently, separately, tragically. Ralie had chosen the treat. She had eaten the candy, hoping for a miracle. She had gotten her wish, but not in the way she wanted. She had wished to be free, to be happy, to be alive. She had become free from her body, from her pain, from her life. She had become happy in a state of bliss, of oblivion. She had become alive in a new form, in a new world, in a new hell. She had become a soul, a ghost, a slave to Mrs. Sasha, who had devoured her essence and claimed her spirit. Laura had chosen the trick. She had faced the challenge, hoping for a victory. She had gotten her chance, but not in the way she expected. She had faced a maze, a puzzle, a riddle. She had solved the maze, finding the exit. She had solved the puzzle, unlocking the door. She had solved the riddle, answering the question. She had reached the end, the goal, the prize. She had reached the outside, the freedom, the light. She had reached Mrs. Sasha, who had waited for her and congratulated her. She had also reached Ralie, who had followed her and betrayed her. Ralie had not died. She had not been eaten. She had not been enslaved. She had been spared by Mrs. Sasha, who had offered her a trade that Ralie had accepted without hesitation, without remorse, without regret. She had traded her soul for Laura's soul. She had traded her life for Laura's life. She had traded her friendship for Laura's friendship. She had stabbed Laura in the back, literally and figuratively. She had plunged a knife into Laura's heart, killing her instantly. She had plunged a dagger into Laura's soul, stealing it from her. She had plunged a betrayal into Laura's trust, breaking it forever. She had smiled as she watched Laura die. She had smiled as she felt Laura's soul enter her body. She had smiled as she heard Mrs. Sasha's praise. She had smiled as she became a witch. Mrs. Sasha had smiled too. She had smiled as she watched Laura die. She had smiled as she felt Ralie's soul leave her body. She had smiled as she heard Ralie's thanks. She had smiled as she welcomed her new apprentice. They had smiled as they walked away. They had smiled as they left the house. They had smiled as they joined the other trick or treaters on the streets. They had smiled as they looked for their next victims. They had smiled as they celebrated Halloween. Thank you for joining us for this spine-tingling story. We hope you found it both thrilling and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this video, please consider participating in our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with your friends. Your support goes a long way in helping us create more engaging content for you. Goodbye, and may you always tread carefully in the world of the unknown.